So from what I hear, everyone is now into the virtual desktop. Everyone has gotten into right here where you're able to do a file, new project. Is that correct? And please don't be shy. So if you have a problem, you're going to have to let me know, or let John know, or let Ben know, or somebody else know. All right? And I don't know how you guys are working at this semester, but I will tell you too that, to my knowledge at least, is somebody going to be here Fridays? Okay. All right. Fridays there are no classes scheduled in this room, to my knowledge, all semester. So if you ever want to come in on a Friday and work, you'll be able to. And either John will be here in the morning and Mike in the afternoon, or vice versa. So there will be a lab assistant in here. All right? Okay. So John just said Kristen Hesselbacher, she's the person running. Ben and Mike and John are employed under this grant that we have, and she's the grant manager. All right. If you haven't heard this already, you all do have a BTC email address, and you should look at it once in a while. I had somebody who told me that last semester. Geez, I didn't even know I had one. And they looked, and they had like hundreds of messages. That's not good. All right. So we just went over this on how to save that. So it says D:, etc., and hopefully that's what yours says. And what I want to do is I want to change this, because Windows Forms Application 1 is a dumb name. My recommendation to you is, when you're creating this, do not put any blank spaces in your name. This name right here. I've had people do it and they say, oh, mine still works, but it may stop working at any time. Also, don't put anything like an apostrophe in the name. Just don't do it. All right? This right here, it says it's heads or tails. I'm just going to call it coin flip. And I'm going to call it coin flip, run the two words together. The C in coin and the F in flip will be capitalized. And then everything else will be lowercase. All right? Notice I've also got this checked that says create directory for solution. So if I click that now and I click OK, it'll take a second. And this is where yours might come up and it might ask you some questions, because it's writing a lot of files in the background while it's doing that. So it might come up right away and it might take a couple seconds. All right, I'm looking at least in the ones I can see, people's are coming up, and it looks pretty much like this. This is what's called your form. All right, and if you don't have this right here, if this does not show, and it may not be showing, if this does not show right now, then click View and go down and find Toolbox. All right, and if you do a View Toolbox, then it should show. Now, it also has this thing that's right here. If you all look up on the screen here, it's called Auto Hide, and sometimes it'll be referred to literally as the push pin. If I click it like this, it goes away, and it only comes in when I need it. But if I click it so the pin is pointing downward like that, it stays up on the screen. I would suggest that you keep it up like this. Now, if you say, no, it's taking up too much of my screen, no, I don't like it, no, whatever, then don't do that. Okay? I'm going to stop for just a second because we are privileged to have Mr. Prindle in here. This is Terry Prindle, and he goes by a lot of different titles, but I called you our virtual desktop engineer. I hope that's all right. And I will tell you, because I want you to hear this, because I keep doing it the wrong way. But am I right now? If they have a problem with a virtual desktop, you don't have a problem with them emailing you directly. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. And as I showed you earlier, he is at tprindle@blackhawk.edu. All right, and they heard this already, but I can't thank our IT department too much for the work they've done for us over the years, and even allowing us to do this. The real good news is everybody in the room was able to get into their virtual desktop this morning. Bad news is 4 people didn't show, but that has nothing to do with you. All right, so did you want to give a little shtick? if you want to when you send it to him, if you want to copy me on it, that way if for some reason he doesn't get it, I can forward it to him. All right. Or worst case, what I can do is if he doesn't get back to you, I can go and set up an electronic help ticket. All right. And in which case it will go to him. Okay. Oh, I was going to say then. Okay. Okay. So it's tprindle1 at blackhawk.edu. Well, they do set up student accounts for everybody here, or basically, instructors have them, admin people have them, etc. So, oh, I didn't know that. All right. Yeah. So again, one thing that I told the students was this is just a desktop. So make sure that you back it up. All right, because if you put all your stuff out there, it's the old, you're putting all your eggs in a basket, and if for some reason, I mean, to me, and now this is all new hardware and new software, but really last semester we had virtually no problems with the virtual desktop. Yeah. No, I told you that before, though. We really and truly didn't, Everything, I thought at least, I don't know, John, if you agree, but everything ran pretty smooth. Nah, not Android. Yeah, and they upgraded to try to make this run even better. They've got a newer version of the hardware and a newer version of the software, to my knowledge, but it's an ever ongoing effort to try to make it better. And if you don't know a couple things, first of all, this room basically is not really well set up for things like Wi-Fi. All right, in fact, this institution is not set up very well for things like Wi-Fi. All right, and what we're trying to do in here, in some ways, to me, in this institution, with everybody bringing in their phones and their iPads and their everything else, it's the old proverbial, we're trying to shove 300 pounds worth into a 5-pound sack. So occasionally you're going to have problems if you're working with the wireless or whatever. Stuff is just going to happen. Usually in spring, one time a semester, somebody goes and hits our connection to charter, and stuff just goes down. It usually happens. It's no one here that does it, to my knowledge, all right, but it just happens. But that's true, but I did want to show you one thing, and that is, like Mark, I'm right here. If I go to start and I go to log off, notice my, and so what? Ah, right here. Okay. All right. I thought that's what you, no, no, hold on. All right. No, I'm going to. Hell with it. That's all right. I'll take a minute or two. All right. So that was really on purpose. I wanted to show you what not to do. All right. So I did a really good job of that. But one thing, just so you know, all right, that you really should do once in a while, at least, is as I showed you before, you can shut it down by just clicking that X at the top. But you really shouldn't do that. You're better off, I think, at least doing a log off. But once in a while, and as Terry said, and yeah, he knows a lot better than I do, that it's like it just doesn't work. Something just seems funky with it. You don't know what it is. The first thing you should always do, but do it the right way, is to try to always go and basically shut it down, so to speak, and reboot it. And two things on that, just so you know. If you're working from home, number one, if you've got crummy wireless at home or no wireless or whatever, our IT department can't do anything about that. So if you start getting dropped a lot at home, or if you're like me, it's a charter problem. It's not a BTC IT problem. All right, so that's one thing. The other thing is, as Terry mentioned, it's a good thing to realize. Let's say that Micah here he's working on his program. He gets it half done. But when he gets all done, he does click that X. All right, now he goes home, okay, and he wants to bring it up at home. If he just has clicked the X, if he brings it up, it's going to have it. Basically, it's right where he left off. So sometimes people like to do that. You can only have, unless you've changed this, and I don't think you have, you can only have one instance of your virtual desktop running at a time. So if you've got it running at home and you bring it up here, it's going to knock you off at home. You only have one going at a time. All right. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask, Terry, since you're here, is if students have the old virtual desktop from home on their machines, can they still use that, or should they get... And I'm back. Yeah, I just did. There it goes. And is this changed? Because I tried to show that to him before. Is it still under blackhawk.edu? It is. Under online services? Okay. Under information technology. Okay, yeah, that's what you were saying. Okay. Virtual desktops. And you'll go there to virtual desktops, and when you go through this, you're supposed to read all this and say that you agree with it. You really should read it because, you know, you're agreeing with all the terms. Basically, for lack of better words, you're using it for schoolwork. You're not using it as a money-making venture. You're not downloading porn on it or whatever. And if we go there, then where do we want to go next? I don't remember. Does it? You can do either one? And I was already in. That's why it knocked me off. All right. Knocked me off of that one too. Oh, look at that. Yes, and we'll try to remember to do that next time. Now, what would you suggest right here? What should I do here? Click the X. All right, now I'm in. Okay. What I did want to show you is if you look up here, I saved it before as coin flip, if you remember. So I have this folder that's in there now. All right? And that folder has got a lot of different stuff in it, just so you know. Right here, that's our solution file. You actually can start the project up by double-clicking that. But if you look here, there's a lot of stuff that's already been created for me. All right? And it doesn't look like it, but there's files in here, too. And there's files in here, and there's files in here. All right? And the reason that I'm telling you that is what I'm always going to suggest to you, all right, what I'm always going to suggest to you is when you've got your program and it's up and you're working on it, doing whatever you happen to be doing, all right, that, this will take a second, I guess, but when you save, click the icon right here that says Save All, because if you're working on one of your files, and you'll start to know what these are as we start working with it, okay? But if you just do a file and you save the file that you're working on, that's fine. That file has been saved. But there might be other files that are being written in the background, all right, and those might not be being saved. So if you click Save All, or if you come up here and you click the Save All thing, or you do a Control-Shift-S, that'll save everything. That's just my recommendation. All right. So are we all right here? Yes? All right. So just so you know, anything else? You're welcome to stick around as long as you want, Terry. Is there anything else that you wanted to say? Okay. Thank you for stopping in. I do appreciate it. A couple things. Again, this is your form. All right? And if I want to go and grab something, and the first thing I'm going to do, just so you see this, is I'm going to take a button, and I'm going to show you two different ways that I can put a button on that form. I can either take my mouse and double-click where it says button, and then it puts it in the upper corner. Boom, there it is, and I can move it and drag it around wherever I want to drag it around to. So I can do that, or I can hold down on the left mouse button and bring it in here and let go. Okay? Does that make sense? So what I want you to do is to start to get a comfort level with this. So the first thing I want you to do before we do anything is this. So everybody's looks like this right now. I'd like you to take a look up on the screen here and notice that you've got these little knobs here. I'd like you to go and just widen this out just a little bit, because we're going to put 3 buttons in here and I want to make sure that it's wide enough. That's all. So that's the first thing that we're doing. Again, this is our GUI right here. So the first thing I'd like us to do is I'd like us to put 3 buttons down near the bottom here. So I'm just going to go and double-click, double-click, double-click. And you notice they give them the great names of button 1, button 2, and button 3. And you'll also notice as I'm dragging them around, I'll get lines that'll come in and try to line stuff up for me. All right? And again, don't worry if yours doesn't look perfect or whatever, but I just wanted to show you some of this stuff. We'll change the names of the buttons. We'll do some more work with them in just a minute. What we're going to do first is we're going to literally, for we're almost done with our interface, to be honest with you. All right. Now, I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to lose a bunch of you, not because what I'm going to show you is hard, but because, ooh, cool, pretty colors. All right, so I'm going to lose a couple of you for a few minutes. So what I'd like you to do is take your mouse, single click on a blank spot in your form here. Just single click on it. If I clicked on a button, you'll see down here it says button 1. If I click here, it says button 2. If I click here, it says button 3. But if I click on the form, it says form 1. All right? One of the things that we should be doing from the get-go is naming our stuff correctly and consistently. And I want to show you the way that Microsoft used to recommend that you name things and the way Microsoft now recommends that you name things. Does that make sense? I don't care which one of these you use that I'm about to show you, but I'd like you to be consistent in the way that you do it. In other words, and don't worry about writing this down or anything, okay? This form. Let's say that I want to call the form coin flip. Then I could either go over here, and this is called my properties window right here. If I drag up to the top, you'll see it says form 1. Well, that thing right there that says text form 1, that's this right here that says form 1. My name is way up at the top here. See that where it says name form 1? That's how you refer to this in code. So if I wanted to refer to the form, that's what I do. Now I want to show you the way that Microsoft used to recommend that you name things and the way they now recommend that you name things. All right? It used to be that Microsoft recommended that you have a 3-letter prefix at the beginning of these. Bless you. So if I want to call this form coin flip, the old way to do it was FRM, little FRM, and then coin flip, like that. That's the way that they used to recommend that you name things. So for the buttons, it would be BTN, followed by the name of the button. All right, as we go through other controls, you'll see. Now they don't recommend you do it like that anymore. Now the recommendation is it's called form 1, that you literally append to the end of it. So I'm going to call this form coin flip, like that. That's their recommendation now. So I don't care which one of those you use, but I want you to start using them, and I want you to be consistent with the way that you do it. All right? Because one of the things I'm trying to get across to you is literally the idea of consistency. All right? All right, now, this is where I'm going to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to kind of turn you loose for a second. Now, if I go and drag down here, not where it says name, but if I drag down to where it says text, and I highlight that by double-clicking on it, I'm going to write down in here, let's see, Chapter 2, Program 5, heads or tails. I think that's what they called it in the book. Heads or tails. And you go, I can't read that. Well, take a look up on here. See where it says Form 1? Notice when I hit Enter, now you can read it. Because if you go down to where it says text, and you put in text, that's what's going to show on your control right here. I'd like you to get into the habit as you're creating your program to give it some text that means something on the top so it doesn't just say Form 1. All right? All right. Right now, the form's gray, which is not bad. It's kind of ugly. So let's change the color of it. All I ask when you do this is that I'm able to read it. If for some reason you're really into creating a black form with red text, then you're going to do that anyway. All right? But I'm just going to create it, and so I'm going to, again, make sure that my form is, there it is, and I'm going to go over in here now. Again, this is our properties area, and I'm going to find about, oh, I don't know, maybe a third of the way down, closer to halfway down. See where it says back color? All right, I'm going to find that, and I'm literally going to click on the word control. And notice what that brings up on the screen here. Okay? It brings this down arrow. And if I click that down arrow, it brings this up. Now, if I just showed you what to do, and if I did it too fast or it didn't work for you, then raise your hand. I'll help you. John will help you. All right? Or Ben will help you. So again, let's just do it one more time. With the form highlighted, I went down to where it said back color. And right now it says control and it's got a gray box. And I took my mouse and single clicked on the word control, which brought up this down arrow. I clicked the down arrow and it brought this up. And what I want to choose is custom. That should look familiar to you. And I'm just going to click the one that's way over here near the upper right, the kind of purplish one. And notice when I do what happens. If you look up on the screen here, it changed the color of everything, including my buttons. That's okay. Did I do that too fast? Did it not work for anybody? No, any color you'd like. Like I said, if you decide you want to come through here and you want to make it like this, you're going to do that anyway. All right? Now, if you look up on the screen here, I want to show you a wrong way to do something and then a right way to do something. Okay? Now, if I want these buttons to be silver. Okay? I want them to be silver. So if I wanted to, this is the wrong way. If I wanted to, I could click the first one, go down to back color, click here, click the down arrow, go to custom, and choose that. Does that make sense? I could do that. But why should I do that 3 times when I don't have to? I can do it once. The way I do that is I hold down on my left mouse button, and while I'm holding down, I do what's called lasso the other objects. So I'd like you to try to do that. And if it doesn't work, let me know. So you hold down on the left mouse button and literally start dragging and let go, and then all 3 of them should be highlighted if you did it correctly. Now if I go over to back color and click and choose here under custom, now I did all of them at one time. Now if I did that too fast, all right, let's say I did it too fast for you. Okay, again, I'm holding down on the left mouse button and dragging. Once I let go, again, that the term that Microsoft uses is I just lassoed all those controls. So that means that everything that's over here is going to apply to all three of the controls. Notice what doesn't show here. There's no name property. I can't name all 3 of them at the same time. But I can set the color for all 3 of them at the same time. So I'm going to again go to back color. All right, click. And then choose, I like to choose the one that's right under the white because that's pretty much the color that buttons are. All right. Does that make sense? All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and change 2 things for each button. Now these I have to do individually. I want to change the name here because button 1, remember, up where it says name, that's button 1. But notice, if and you don't do this yet, but if I call this, for example, button exit, and I hit enter, that doesn't change. The name of a control is the name that you refer to it using code. If I want to actually change what's on here so it doesn't say button 1, then I've got to go down to text. All right? And I want this first one. And this is a great program to start with because it's not going to look right, and that's fine. All right, so I'm going to go down to my text for my first button, and I'm going to type in show space heads and hit enter. And somebody look on the screen here and tell me what just happened. It's not big enough. So I could either make it wider or I could make it taller. But I want to keep those buttons in uniform, so I'm going to, again, lasso all 3 of them and then grab this little thing that's right here, and I can grab any of these and pull up until I can see the show and the heads. So I made the buttons a little bit wider than they were previously. All right, so if I went too fast, again, all right, again, I'm going to draw here, hold down on the left mouse button, lasso, then grab any of my little guides here and pull up until it's wide enough where the show and the heads comes up. I think it's a good idea to actually name stuff, for lack of better words, the same thing as what the text says. So I'm going to go up to the name property now, and instead of button 1, I'm going to call this button show heads. You cannot put a blank space into anything that you name. So there it is. Move this up a little bit. Button show heads. All right, now what I'd like you to do, if you look up on the screen here, is I'd like you to name this one button show tails and put the text in it to show tails, and this one button exit with the text being exit. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. And I'll do the same thing. You cannot have spaces in a name. If you try to put a space in, you should get an error message. Now, you may or may not realize this, but if you look up on the screen here, and we're going to all do this in a second, but I can run this program now. It's not really going to do a lot because there's no code associated with it, but I can run it, and when I do press the button, it does look like it's pushed in, but it doesn't do anything. Also, when you look at this, not like it's a big thing, but right now when I run this, if you look up on the screen here, notice where it comes up. See where it comes up? It's called the Windows Start Position. I don't like that. I want it to come up in the middle of the screen. All right? Why? Because I'm anal that way, I guess. So again, I'm going to go and click and make sure I'm single click on just the form someplace. And if I go down towards the bottom, there's a thing that says Start Position. Right here. And you'll notice that if I click on it, it gives me a bunch of choices, and one says center screen. So again, I'm going to do that now, but if I did it too fast, I'll do it again. Single click on the form in your properties window that's over here. Go down and down near the bottom, find start position, click on it, and you'll get a down arrow. And by default, it says Windows default location. I want to change it to center screen. And notice when I run the program again, now you can see where it's running. This isn't my program. This is my program here. All right. And it's not like that's a big thing, but why not make it as easy for someone as possible when they start working on your program? All right. We're going to do one more thing, and then we're just going to shut it down for the period here. All right. I mentioned to you earlier in class that I'm going to give you what I consider to be some good tips. Here's the first one. Know how we came in here and we changed the name? So we changed this from button 1 to button show heads, from button 2 to button show tails, and from button 3 to button exit. Let's assume for a second that I had you don't have to do this, but I have this button out here. Okay? So I have this button. I don't care about the color, but it's there. All right? And I come in here and I change the text. And I just want it to say hello. All right? Boom. It says hello. If that really bothers you, all right, you say, well, it doesn't look like the other ones do. Yeah, I know that. So we can make it look like the other ones do. All right, now it says hello. The problem is when you want to add code to a control, you double click on the control. So please look. Please look on the screen. So I'm going to double click. Notice I didn't change its name yet. It's still button 1. So if I double click, it brings up a code window, but it's still got the old name. Everybody see that? Now, oh, geez, I didn't mean to do that. So I come back here and I change it to button hello. Hit enter, double click on it. Now it still says button 1 underscore click because it associated the name that you used when you first double clicked it. So now I've got to manually go in here, and sometimes it doesn't even let you. Sometimes the best thing to do then is to remove the button and recreate it then, or remove whatever control it is. So the word to the wise is create your controls, name your controls, then double click on them to add code. Don't do it in any other order than that. All right? So I don't need this anyway because I'm about to get rid of the button. But notice I got rid of the button, and now if I come through here and I say view code, that's still in there. It doesn't automatically remove that. All right? Now I should be able to remove it, and I shouldn't have a problem. But I come back here. Now, we're going to add code right now just for the exit button. Okay? So I'd like you to double click. Make sure again when you click on it that it says button exit, that you've changed the name, and then double click on it. Now notice, see what that says? It says button exit. We'll get to this in a later class, but just so you know, where it says object sender and event args E, virtually the entire semester we don't have to worry about that. The sender is who clicked the button. It's you. So typically you don't have to worry about that. For the event args, you usually don't have to worry about that. But let's say that Mike here is creating a game, and he wants to always be able to chart wherever his mouse is on the screen. Then for those event args, he might put in the position of his mouse coordinates. All right, so sometimes you use those. Virtually everything that we do this semester, we won't be using them. Okay? All right, now I'm going to show you, I'm only going to have time to show you the one way of doing this, all right, for right now. It's not the good way. So I'm showing you something right now, and for the next class, you're going to learn a better way of doing this. Everybody hear what I just said? So I'm showing you a way of doing it right now, but it's not the, quote, best way, unquote. All right, and that is to type in this dot close, paren, semicolon. So I'd like you to put that in if you would, please. Make sure it's under the button exit. I don't know why you would. For now, let's say, I wouldn't worry about it. Okay? But I don't know why. I think it's because you two are special. No, maybe everybody does. I don't know. What we're doing when we click the button now is we're saying this, which is whatever our current thing is, which is our program. We're telling it to close the program. Does that make sense? And you'll notice the word this here is in blue, which means it's a keyword. The dot means the close method belongs to this. And since it's a method, and don't worry, we're going to be going over all this stuff. It needs parens after it. Sometimes these parentheses will have things in it, like we had up here. Sometimes it won't have anything in it. And also notice if you look up on the screen, I'm going to remove the semicolon. Okay? See how I get the little squigglies under here? It's telling me that it expected a semicolon. So if I were to try to run it now without this in here, I'd get an error message. So I don't believe you. Okay? So I'm going to run it. It says there were errors. Now typically when it says this, would you like to continue? You typically don't click yes. Because it's like, yeah, I know there's problems, but just do it anyway. You click no. Then on the bottom of the screen someplace, it's going to show you then what your error is. And it says right there, it expected a semicolon at the end. I put that semicolon back in again, and everything's hunky-dory. I always recommend doing a save all first, and then to run the program, you click that green arrow by the word start. So if you click that, and you click exit, you're out. Now that was pretty harsh. What I mean is, what if the person clicked exit accidentally? Well, the program still stopped, right? What we'll learn starting next class is we're going to write more code that's going to ask the user, are you sure you want to exit? And if you say yes or okay, then it'll exit. And if you say no or cancel, it'll keep you there. Does that make sense? So we're going to add more than what we have right here. Also, what we'll do next time is we'll bring in a couple of things that are over here that are called, I don't remember if I use picture boxes or not, but we'll find out. But we'll add those things so we can put in the images. There's really not a lot of code for this. All the code is here and here. And that includes all the stuff that you see right now, and up here, all this first half of the page, that's the comment. There's not really a lot of code. There's probably about 15, 20 lines. We should have plenty of time to do that next time. So I would suggest that right now you do a file and you do a save all, or you click the triple disk icon right here, and then always get out here normally by saying file and then close solution. If you had not saved previously, it should ask you if you want to save. All right. So I'm still in Visual Studio right now, but I've stopped my file. So to get out of Visual Studio, I can either click the X that's there, or I can do a file, exit, or I can do an Alt F4 to get back. All that makes sense? I mean, that was a lot to throw at you now, and you might think, no, it wasn't. We went really slow. Believe me, as we go on, we'll pick it up. Okay, but especially if you've never gone through any of this before, it can be a little daunting at first. All right? So we'll go back and we'll finish this up next class. Now, if you're in the next class, if you're in the Java class that follows this one, you can stay in the virtual desktop. You don't have to be in Visual Studio, but you can stay in the virtual desktop. All right? And if you're not, again, you can, as Terry said, you can either click the X here or do a file and start and log off. And that'll get you out of the virtual desktop back into your regular desktop. Please, and I'm going to try to keep saying this, especially the first couple weeks, we get more and more people here who are leaving and they're not logging off of their regular desktop. All right? And I don't go and check that. Now, if you're Luke and you consistently leave your jump drive here, I can go grab that for you. But after class, I'm not going to go in and keep checking to see if people have logged off or not. The bad thing is if you forget to log off, somebody is you. So if they went in there and started doing stuff they shouldn't do, they're doing it as you. So always make sure that when you're done, you log out. All right. And again, the easiest way to do that is to just do here, file, and then click the log off button. All right. That's all that I had.